Anthony Melchiori, another day. Today I'm excited because we're talking to IHG. What do you think about that?
Happy Friday.
On Thursday. Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live with our friend right there, Anthony Melchiori, and myself, Glenn Hausman. It is so great to see you here today. And Anthony, working with you every day feels like Friday.
Sup, my Jewish brother from my Jewish mother. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic today. You know, it was the wife's birthday yesterday, and it was nice to see her happy. And my mom had that cataract surgery. She went through it just fine.
Yeah, I meant to ask you when you mentioned that. I didn't ask you. She's okay?
Yeah, everything was easy peasy. It was more of her nervous anticipation about it than actually the procedure itself.
Yeah, Cadillac, I call it Cadillac surgery. Cadillac surgery used to be a big deal when I was a kid. I remember old people used to get it, and everybody was like always scared about it because it was
right.
But I'm glad, and happy birthday to your wife, and you're the biggest present she ever got.
Now only if she believed that. All right, so. I would like to say, because nobody cares and nobody asked, I smoked beef ribs yesterday for a good 10 hours, Anthony, and they came out freaking awesome. The kids liked them, so I felt like I had an accomplishment in my belt yesterday.
You know what? You were so right.
I know, nobody cares, but I care. And that is all that matters. And I'll tell you something that everybody cares about. That is IHG. We're going to be having Julienne Smith on today, and she is the SVP Development for Americas with IHG. I'm looking forward to that. But Anthony, before we do that, I want to talk about our good friends over at Eco Technology. This awesome wastebasket that we've been using around the house, and I know hoteliers around the country are starting to use because they're seeing it listed here on No Vacancy.
You know what I love about it is you can have it in the room as a recycle bin, and you don't have to clean it. You just recycle it with the trash, and it's easy peasy. And one other thing that my wife had to teach me, which I realized I was putting it together. And at the bottom of putting the bin together, you may be able to see it. I don't know if you can. There's numbers. 1,
3,
4.
So
it's very easy to put together. It's very clean, smells good, and it's easy to take out. And you save money. And not only save money on cleaning it, you save time on having to take it out of the room because you do deep cleaning sometimes and really scrubbing it. So I think all the way around, it's a great product.
Yeah, it's only costs about 15 cents per unit. If you act right now, you get a 10% discount for our fans here of No Vacancy Live. Remember, save on those cleaning costs. Invest in this particular product. It'll show your guests you're eco-friendly as well. What, Anthony?
How do they find it?
Dave, pull that up, please. It'll be scrolling throughout the show too, but go to eco-techwaste.com. That's eco-techwaste.com. Tell them No Vacancy sent you and you get that 10% discount. So, Anthony, I am not at the IHG in Sarasota, Florida today, the Holiday Inn Express in Sarasota, Florida.
Okay, what is my favorite? I shouldn't say this, but it's true. What's my favorite brand to stay at when I'm traveling for work?
I'm afraid to say it out loud because I don't want to offend all the other brands out there.
But I'll just say that I've stayed at almost every state. I've stayed at the Holiday Inn Express. I probably stayed at hundreds of them. There's, I think, 2,300 of them. And I think I've stayed at maybe 100 or 200 of them. Who knows? But I would get very upset when I wasn't in that brand. And the reason being is it was just really efficient. All the brands are relatively efficient, but I would always find one or two things wrong with something. And with Holiday Inn Express, and I was just saying this, I've never had a problem, ever.
That's awesome.
And like I said, my schedule when I'm traveling, especially when we're shooting and I'm traveling for keynotes or whatever, I'm literally on a minute-by-minute basis. I have no time for nonsense of my door not working or people being rude or breakfast not being ready or parking not being ample to be able to park the rental car that my assistant that we have. So I just love the brand. And I also developed the first urban Staybridge Suites in Times Square, the first urban hotel they ever had. What else did we do? We did the Intercontinental.
And Nickelodeon was a IHG family property at the time, right?
We did the Intercontinental in Times Square.
Yes, you were a part of the development team on that, correct? What an amazing property that turned out to be.
Yeah, I didn't get my way on one thing, but we'll talk about it later.
I do. I want to bring in Julianne, but now I realize I've got the most important question I've ever asked you, Anthony. Who is responsible for getting Shake Shack in that building, and can I hug him?
That would be Tishman, in the group at Tishman. Probably I had left already, but probably my boss. That whole space was supposed to be retail space. That was all individual retail space, and I guess they're the best. Tishman's the best, and they made a deal. But I'll tell you a little secret about that hotel once we get her on.
All right. So what do you say? Let's bring her Julianne in.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Welcome to the show, Julianne Smith. She is SVP, Senior Vice President, Development of the Americas with IHG. Julianne, so great to see you. Congratulations on having your first year in this awesome, exciting job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I also feel lucky to have just completed my first year with IHG.
Let me just 3 months of a pandemic. What could be better than that?
Yeah, but I'm not in downtown Chicago where I was living. I'm in Virginia Highlands in Atlanta that has a little bit better weather to kind of weather the storm. So I'm happy to have made the move.
So exactly what is your responsibility?
So I oversee luxury and upscale development for North America. I also oversee what we call transactions and asset management, which is really contracts management and keeping our flags in place for hotels that might be nearing the end of term or whatever it might be. So I have a view on that across all brands. And then on the development side, I focus on our luxury and upscale portfolio.
So as a hotel geek myself, I want to know, what did you go to college for, and was it for hotels? And did you go in the finance route? And how did you get into this wonderful business?
Good question.
That is a good question, because if you ask any developer, right, we're called developers, even though we're not doing the real estate development, what their path has been, you'll get a lot of different answers. So I actually have a liberal arts degree from Boston University. I wanted to make documentary films. That was my passion. Cool. And my minor was film. And when I graduated, there wasn't anybody who wanted to bankroll me for that. So I had waited tables and worked in restaurants and bartended and managed restaurants all through college. And, for the first couple of years out of college, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I worked for HarperCollins in Manhattan. I did publicity for them. I chased a .com job in Northern California. And then the tech crash happened. And I found myself trying to find a job with thousands of other people with degrees and specialty degrees and 10 years work experience. So long story short, I ended up working for a construction company in their sales department. And that got me in tune with real estate development, construction practices, and so forth in California, where I've been living. And it was a good job, but it was a small company. There was definitely a ceiling there for me. I didn't see a ton of growth opportunity. So I took my grandmother's advice, who was, an executive in the 1940s and 50s, which is rare for a woman. And she said, find a company that inspires you. You like what they do, and get a job there, whatever it is, in the mailroom, And there's two companies who had jobs posted in a development-related field. It was Yum Brands in Irvine, California, and Marriott's development office in Newport Beach. So I gained traction with the developers there, Joy Berry, Chris Ivy, Stan Jones at the time. They took a chance on me. It was a part-time job, admin assistant. And I just proved myself and worked my way up, and then had an opportunity to join Hyatt a few years later.
Well, I got chills. And I'll tell you why I got chills, because right now with the pandemic, like my daughter is in theater. She's graduating in January, 6 months early. Broadway shut down, and she's a little bit lost. She's feeling well. And I said this is a great opportunity because it's coming back in May. So that means by January, they're going to have to start getting things going. So, but it's just the way you look at it. And you're sitting in this really big position in IHG, responsible for really big projects that are really critical to the brand. And you figured it out, and you got there because in any job you had, whether it be a waitress, whether it be in a construction company, whether it be an admin assistant, you were undeniable. you don't get to your position the way you got it unless you're undeniable. And one of the things that I try to teach young people, even older people, is you have to be undeniable. You have to be irreplaceable. Even though everybody's replaceable, you have to do 3 or 4 jobs, and you have to show up every day and be not only accountable, but you have to be counted on every single day. And so congratulations, and I'm glad you told that story.
Yeah, and I'd like to just jump in there. If anybody doesn't know Yum Brands, that's KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, a lot of the brands that we know. So I'm amazed that you were able to keep looking so healthy, even though you're around all of those yummy, delicious brands out there.
We already got me, so you know.
Yeah.
You didn't listen. She didn't get that job. She worked for Marriott.
Oh, sorry. I was doing something over here. Anyway, did you bring anything from college to your development role, or was it all on the job experience? Asked Darren Burt.
I would say so. I was an anthropology major, which a lot of people might, think that's kind of funny. But what that
I think that makes a lot of sense in retrospect.
Well, 2 things. One is kind of understanding how people work. So it's not quite psychology, but just sort of having a perspective on how things work on a community level, on a humanity level. I think I've brought that with me because I often observe and watch people, and that plays into the ability to negotiate and get deals done and read the room. And then secondly, Boston University, any major you have, there is a lot of writing. I mean, I had 120-page papers and things like that. So I think as it pertains to kind of business writing and the ability to get my point across well, BU was a good foundation for that. And the ability to write in a concise manner, I learned at HarperCollins being in publicity, trying to get my point across on a single page is a skill I learned there.
Yeah, that's so important to be able to communicate effectively and succinctly. That's one of the things that sometimes people don't realize. And if you go on and on and on and on, people just kind of drone you out. You're not going to be as effective in your business. So you came along, you had the first few months, everything was going pretty good, probably getting adjusted to your role. Then all of a sudden this COVID crisis hit and everything got turned upside down. What was that like for you as somebody who's leading the development team in Americas to suddenly see such a drastic drop in business that none of us could have expected?
Yeah, well, my first perspective on a downturn was right after 9/11. That's when Marriott hired me. So I walked into an office that had the capacity for 60 people in Newport Beach, and there were about 20 people left. So at that time, Marriott had gotten rid of their corporate development and architectural arm. So there were a lot of empty offices. So I entered the industry in a downturn and then saw the recovery from there. I joined Hyatt right before the mortgage crisis, and I dealt with what it was like to be in development in 08, 09, and 2010. So I've had some experience with it. I'm fortunate that I was with IHG for about 7 or 8 months before this happened, so I could bridge the relationships. Yeah. I think it's very difficult to be new at a company during this pandemic when you're just on Skype and Zoom with people and you're not able to be in a room. It's doable. Our global head of HR just started a month ago, and he's still in South Africa where he had been living and hasn't been able to get to London. But I've already had a chance to meet with him and talk to him, and like many other leaders in the company. So it's doable, but that sort of day-to-day interaction, meeting people in the hallway, sitting down, talking, having lunch, whatever it might be, obviously is by the wayside. Again, we're fortunate at IHG to have a lot of mainstream hotels, but we also have we're grossly underrepresented in upscale and luxury. And that's why I was hired, right? To help grow those 2 aspects of our business. So when we look at opportunities in any given market, because we're so underrepresented and we have pent up demand with our loyalty members, we do get a shot at some deals that maybe if we were oversaturated, we wouldn't get. So, I did have to restructure my team a little bit, which is difficult to do. But we're set. We're responsive. We've changed just a little bit, not in a overly impactful way. And we're focused mostly on conversions. I mean, I think that's what we're going to see for the next year or so, at least.
You know what I like about IHG? And I've worked, Intercontinental, Staybridge Suites, the Nickelodeon by Holiday Inn. So I know the brand relatively well. Some of the nicest people I've ever met in the industry. Just really, 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 really personable people. You're not rigid. You have standards, and you are on some standards really double down, but you really are a little open more than other brands, where you really do listen to the ownership. You really do listen to the management. You're really inclusive in your decision making, project to project. And I've learned that. And there's sometimes, like I told you, I got thrown out of an office once, where you're not, you stick to your guns. So you're tough business people, but you're also your listeners. And I always respected that about IHG. And when like I told you, I was doing the Staybridge Suites in Times Square, and that was not an easy project for a number of reasons. But specifically, it was the first urban Staybridge Suites in the world, I think, at the time. And it wasn't the easiest project in the world to develop from dirt up, and it was just a pleasure. All the executives I worked with at IHG are Tim Riley. Do you know Tim?
I don't think I've met Tim.
You'll meet him. Tim Riley's a legend, and he's a sales guy. And we just have. I'm still very good friends with him. It's just a great company, and you are underrepresented, obviously. But Intercontinental in Times Square, I was overseeing the Westin for Tishman, and when we were working on the Intercontinental, one of the reasons I remember the owners going to IHG was because of the relationships and because of the personalities and because it was relatively easy to work with them.
Thank you for saying that. I always say that a hotel is not a product like an Apple iPhone, right? The Apple iPhones, they're all the same. We all have them, of course. And I'd love for, the passion around Apple to be the same as towards, Crowne Plaza or voco or Holiday Inn Express. It sounds like you've got the passion for Holiday Inn Express. But every hotel is a little bit different, right? Depending upon the market that it's built in, depending upon the consumer base that you're trying to attract. So to be a little bit fluid and open to suggestion and a little bit of change, I think is important. Of course, we've got an extremely large team of people who are branders who do consumer analytics and pricing and make sure that what we're putting in the hotels is consistent and makes sense. But you've got to have a little bit of flexibility as you move these hotels across the globe and in so many different markets.
Right. And speaking of flexibility, now is the time that you guys have had to rethink absolutely everything from the ground up. Hoteliers are suffering out there. You want to make sure that you can be a place for them to know that their business is going to be okay. So what are some of the things that you've been doing kind of to support the owners out there throughout this particular crisis?
Yeah, so pretty much right away, we came up with a plan to temporarily defer fees. We increased deadlines for PIPs or other things that were required. We stepped back on QA visits for a period of time to help ease their pain, right? Because it's a difficult situation that we're in. We've come up with cleanliness standards. Obviously, all the hotel companies have used their strength to do that. But that way, that's why you pay into a franchise, right? You don't, as a hotel owner, have to think about those sort of macro level decisions. So partnering with Cleveland Clinic and Ecolab and Diversity to make sure that we have best in class cleaning processes. We also renegotiated some of our vendor contracts to make sure that they were in line with market. So trying to get ahead of some of those items is what we're doing on behalf of the ownership base. And then also being communicative. It was really important for us as we were looking at the restructure of our company as we're navigating this pandemic, that we keep the frontline people engaged and with our owners so that they didn't feel like they were getting lost in a vacuum and couldn't get a hold of anybody. We've got a group we call FPS, Franchise Performance Services, under our operations team that is sort of the front line between IHG and the ownership base to make sure that they're getting what they need and are raising their hand if they've got some issues that maybe we can help tackle.
It's fascinating listening to you speak because you're this big time executive doing, really focused on something critical for the company, the growth of the company. But you have this front desk, night audit, housekeeping kind of sensibility, meaning you understand how the whole thing works. You understand you can just hear that in your voice and the way you're describing what you're saying. So when you're saying upscale, so let's talk about that. What are the brands that you're working on specifically in the upscale part of IHG?
Sure. So we've got 4 upscale brands. We've got Crowne Plaza. You're familiar, the Plaza in New York. And we have a hotel called HY36, which is a Crown Plaza brand in Midtown as well. Really beautiful hotel. We've got Hotel Indigo. That's a brand that's a little more than a decade old. Fantastic boutique brand.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle brand. It kind of bookends Hotel Indigo or bookends lifestyle with Hotel Indigo and Kimpton, which is in our upper upscale to luxury category. We've got Even Hotels, which is an upscale brand that competes for the corporate business traveler. It's got a wellness spin to it, which is really apropos for today. You can still take care of yourself. It's got in-room fitness, which we think a lot about as to whether or not that's a consumer driver. And our research has said it is. And we anticipate that during this pandemic and post-COVID, because there's going to be some PTSD from what we're going through, I think that's going to be a big edge for the brand as well. And then we most recently brought voco to the Americas from our EMEA territory, out of our UK office. And that's our soft brand. We call it a soft brand with hard elements because there's some elements that are threaded throughout all vocos, but it's designed to be a great conversion opportunity, particularly for really solid independent hotels that want to plug into a system that can generate, a reservation contribution and economies of scale.
Excellent. Well, let me tell you a little bit about how much I love brands Even and Indigo. The Even brand was something that my kids were a big fan of when you had two of them in your system. And my kids loved the fact that you could get fresh, free water, that there was an emphasis on healthy foods. Even when they were only like 8 years old, they thought that was cool. The thing that they liked most was that there were no odd number rooms, which I thought was pretty cool there. But Julianne, you're right, because one of the cool things about it is in this COVID era, and soon, hopefully, fingers crossed, the post-COVID era, one of the things that I liked most was making it so you could exercise in your room with all of those videos and the equipment that were there to help people be productive. To me, somebody that may not want to be around other people as much, I think that's a terrific solution. And then over at Indigo, I think that brand has done a phenomenal job over the 10 years maturing and figuring out what it was going to be. And I think the one in downtown LA is absolutely stunning, really is representative of what that brand is and where it's heading. And I can't say nothing about that amazing the amazing Intercontinental that's 2 blocks from there as well. But we're not talking about Intercontinental right now. We're talking about those other brands.
Are you focused on Intercontinental and Six Senses and those brands too? Or?
Yeah, so I handle or oversee the team who focuses on Intercontinental and Regent in particular. Six Senses still happens outside, or still is overseen outside of North America. But Intercontinental and both Regent are busy brands despite the pandemic that we're in. And I attribute that to 2 factors. One is they're long-term deals, right? So stuff that we're looking at right now probably won't open until 2025.
Right.
And then they're not tied to the typical capital markets that our upscale and mainstream brands are typically tied to. So we've had a surprising uptick in activity on the luxury side, which is awesome because, again, we're underpenetrated in North America.
What is the interest in terms of urban versus resort versus maybe suburban markets for that particular product? I'm curious if there's any sort of pattern in this particular moment of history.
We're looking at urban.
That's amazing.
I know, but we're hoping by 2025.
No, I get it. It makes sense. Rationally, it makes sense. By 2025, things should be full bore. We're going to be up ahead, and opening up a brand new property in that theoretical environment is going to be a great move. But it's still surprising and encouraging to hear that people are willing to take that move now and not get stuck in that mindset that whatever is today is going to be forever. That's one of the things that we try very hard to combat here on No Vacancy Live, is that getting stuck in how we feel today, because that's not going to be naturally representative of what's happening a year from now, 2 years from now, or in your case, 5 years from now when these properties start to open. So Julianne, we got a great question, or more of a statement here. You did not wait for the franchisees to reach out to us for help. Atlanta called first with solutions and fees and PIPs. That shows what kind of an organization they are. I think that really says something about your company. And I think Elie Maalouf is really just a terrific individual, really running the Americas division in a terrific way. He's open, honest, and anytime I have the opportunity to chat with him, I'm always delighted by his point of view and his leadership skills.
Yeah, I like to say that we have 2 clients, right? We've got the guests, obviously, which we need to satisfy and make sure they want to come back. And then we've got our owners, because the majority of our portfolio is franchise. So we need to make sure that we keep them satisfied and wanting to do more deals and stay within the IHG system.
And it's going to be more and more important post-COVID to really develop those relationships, because, listen, I'm not telling you something you don't know, is owners are a little shell-shocked, and the relationships with brands and owners are a little, strained. And the brands that did the right thing, like you guys, will probably be the go-to brands, and the ones that didn't will suffer. But my question is, I want to back up a little bit. You said the capital markets for Intercontinental is a little bit different than the financing. So for those people that don't really understand the financing of property, especially the young people coming into this industry, talk about that. Talk about the capital markets. Why is Intercontinental a little bit different than that from the capital markets in financing? Explain that.
Sure. So for a new deal we might be looking at for a luxury hotel, that money might be coming from overseas. It might be coming from family money, oil money, tech money, something like that. So there's a pool of capital that isn't your typical large, big bank
Right.
that we have here in the States. On the typical upscale or mainstream deal, you're either going with a national bank or you're going with a local bank. It might be a little bit easier on the local bank side because you've got a long-term relationship and there might be a longer view on that particular asset, or it might, be a $12 million, Candlewood Suites being built somewhere, and there's a local lender who knows the sponsor and is willing to take the risk during this time period. But if you're looking at an upscale deal, let's say in a city center, and Bank of America or Wells Fargo, one of the bigger banks, is typically the lender, they're really not lending on new construction right now. So,
Right.
You've got to be a little bit more creative. There's still EB-5 money in some deals. There's still, historical tax credits and things like that to cobble deals together. So it can be done. And there are a handful of developers who are putting their own funds together and tackling some development opportunities, because it is slow right now. And during slow times, you tend to get better deals on things. So development's not completely dried up, but it's certainly not close to where it was before the pandemic.
So right now, having a rich uncle will help you get a hotel a lot faster than the capital market.
It might. I don't have one of those, though.
All right, I'm going to go find myself one of them.
I tried to learn finance. We were talking off camera about Miller Global, who's my favorite people. Mickey Miller, Jim Miller, Dave Johnstone, who we both know very well. Some of my favorite people in the whole world. They took care of me like no one's ever taken care of me. I worked hard, but they really took care of me. And they were basically investing in funds, right? So they have fund 1, fund 2, fund 3. And then that fund has got to make X amount percentage and then go into another fund. And I didn't understand any of that. And I was probably 40. And because I was always running hotels. So I really got a great education of how hotels are financed. I didn't realize because I was so busy running them, I didn't know how they were financed. So when you talk like that, I always think of myself. If I was a general manager listening, I'd want to know how that works. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask this question coming from our audience. Are you is IHG offering anything specific to spur travel this fall? Laura Mandala is doing an interview with local Channel 7 this afternoon, is looking for some fall travel ideas and specials. Any thoughts on how your company might be helping boost travel?
Yeah, we continue to push offers through our loyalty program, whether it's a multiple of points to book by a certain date in certain markets. We're doing it more on the focus on leisure and drive-in markets, right? Because there really is no.
Those exist right now.
Exactly. That's I went on a road trip myself, and I stayed at some IHG brands. I also stayed at some competitor brands to see what was going on, and across the board, I had a great experience and felt safe and like the hotels were clean and doing the right things. And, you know, I have 2 kids and 2 dogs, and we put them all in one room, and, you know, it's tough on hotels. So I really respect what everybody's doing, but yeah, we're pushing promotions during this fall period to help spur business.
Actually, the reason we had you on the show is those hotels would like the cleaning fee from the dogs, please.
My kids.
Well, I don't want to insult your kids, but yeah, I know my kids you would need the cleaning fee from. And that, you know, and that's what it's about. It's, you know, I've been doing a lot of press myself in talking about that. And what I try to really tell people is forget about the deals, forget about, you know, stay 1 night, get 2 nights free. I don't care about the deal, right? At the end of the day, what people want is it safe to travel? That's what I get asked every single day. Is it safe to travel? Well, did you get on an airplane before COVID? No, I hate flying. Okay. We were safe to travel, but you didn't go. That's you. So everyone has got to really make their own assessment, and we've got to be honest with the traveling public. It is safe to travel. Okay. I think, honestly, hotels are the safest place in the world to be right now. They're a heck of a lot safer than I would want to be on maybe a train or something, but I would still be on the train as long as I have my mask on. So it is safe to travel, but every single person's got to make that decision. And some people need their list a little bit longer of the safety precautions, and some say, listen, wear a mask, stay 6 feet away. I'm not going to, like, to me, I'm not eating in a restaurant for people that don't know. I'm only eating outside. I'm wearing my mask. I'm staying 6 feet away from each other. I'm not going to a bar, and I'm not going to a club. Those were I'm not doing. But I'm doing everything else, and I'm going to have fun. And I think it's really personal right now. And as long as brands like you keep doing the right thing as far as cleaning and really, and you guys have been real transparent, and you guys have been real vocal, and you're really great on social media, you know, really getting that message out. I think that is the key factor, because right now people are so pent up. I mean, there's not a day that goes by I don't beg Glenn, where we go. You know, we're working on the show, and that show will keep me busy, you know, traveling, but I need to travel right now. And so I'm always looking for an excuse. You know, if there's a squirrel opening up an envelope, I'm going.
It's true. Or like the Rockaway Hotel on Monday, where we're going to be doing a live show. Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's a long trip for me. I have to take a plane.
What is it, good 10 minutes from your house or something like that?
No, 45 minutes because I live in New York.
Okay. That's excellent. So, Julianne, you know, bringing this voco brand to the United States, it would be challenging under any circumstances, but right now in particular, it's super challenging. How are you rethinking the way you're going to be able to introduce this brand to both investors and customers?
Well, what's interesting is our original thesis still applies because you know, EMEA, our European region, launched it a couple of years ago with great success, largely off of existing hotels, but now their pipeline is about 50% purpose-built, you know, creating a story around the location that they're developing. So we're drafting off of that. And we were fortunate enough to have some opportunities based on relationships that my team have out in the field to sign 3 deals. We've got the Franklin coming in Upper East Side Manhattan. We've got the Tiger coming in Columbia, Missouri, which is where Mizzou is. So it's a great college market. And then we've got a hotel leisure-driven.
Oh, I love St. Augustine. That's such a great town in Florida. All right, but I think we got some pictures. Let's bring those up. Where on the Upper East Side is that property going to be located?
Yes.
Say that again?
Where on the Upper East Side will that hotel be?
Not far from the Met. So
okay, cool.
So it's a little hotel. I think it's about 60 rooms. They're well underway on their conversion work. It was an independent hotel for, you know, the better part of 100 years.
Yep.
It's really cool. They're going to do some cool F&B on the lobby level of that hotel.
That's awesome.
I passed that hotel just the other day, and it was closed, and I was really, really upset. And it's right down the block from the Peninsula, correct?
Yes, it's not far from the Peninsula. It was actually interesting as we were underwriting it. It's hard to get comps, right? Because it's kind of surrounded by luxury hotels.
Right.
But it's a great little spot. Aimbridge is going to be the operator. They've been a tremendous partner of ours in getting that hotel through. Because when you're doing a conversion of a building that's 100 years old, there's a lot of difficulty there. But we're doing it, and Flintlock is the owner and developer. They've developed a number of hotels with us in Manhattan. We've got a deep relationship with them. So it'll be a race to see which one opens first, but they're well underway.
Me and Flintlock, we developed the Staybridge Suites in Times Square.
Okay.
Chip and his brother. Yeah, we had a lot of fun meetings, me and those guys. And Franklin used to be owned by Amsterdam Hospitality Group. And I actually was in that hotel for an interview, and I didn't like the guy, so I left. But anyway, yeah, I know the hotel. I know the hotel very well.
All right, I want to go back to that first picture, Dave, because that's a cool looking building. Where is this, and what type of property is this, Julianne?
So it was a branded hotel. I'm not gonna say which brand it was.
We never want to call out other brands on the show. We're not about being negative or positive here.
Yeah, it's a unique build. So we thought it could really lend itself well to a conversion, because what we don't want to do is convert a hotel to voco that looks like the brand that it was, right? That's not really what we're going for. It's more of an independent kind of cool opportunity. So we thought this fit the bill. And it's near the historic district. It's not quite in the historic district, but it's within striking zone. And again, they're going to upweight their F&B opportunity as well, because they feel like what they're doing now is underserving the market. So it'll be, again, another small hotel, about 60 rooms, but we'll do bigger hotels for voco with a focus on some really cool F&B.
Right. Did you say this is the one in Florida in St. Augustine?
That's St. Augustine, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. It has a kind of a European feel to it in terms of the look of that building. But I will say, you keep saying only has 60 rooms, but the fact is the average size of hotels has been shrinking over years. There's been fewer rooms, and that's turned out to be more profitable for hoteliers. So for folks out there who don't realize that, sometimes fewer rooms is actually better for specific markets. Anthony?
Well, the number is usually it's 75 to 150, right?
Right.
That's a good number. 150 is really a great number, because anything over 150, there's a lot more labor resources that you need. Anything under 75 is a little bit touchy. You need to really make sure that it's getting the rate. It's really, the brand is really, really thorough, and it's really making sure you're really understanding your customer base. In a 60-room hotel, if you're running 80% occupancy, do the math, and that's a hard number to get. So 60 rooms is that's a tricky number usually, and you have to really be laser focused on your underwriting and on your understanding your guests. Julian, does that sound?
Great. Yeah, no, that's right. Once you get below that, you still have the same amount of staff that you would for 100 or 125. Right? You can't get rid of the GM or housekeeping or any of that. But again, location really helps, operator, and then I think for these particular hotels, the F&B will drive a little bit more of the revenue than in a typical select service hotel or upscale hotel.
Like you look at the hotel we're doing Monday, the Rockaway Hotel, non-branded hotel. It's guys who just they know what they're doing, and it's heavy food and beverage, heavy meetings, weddings, things like that, and that's where they're going to make their money, because 50 rooms again in a market like Rockaway, Queens, is a tough market. So yeah, I agree with what you said, Glenn, but it's usually you want to be between 75 and 150.
Right. Yes, that makes sense. The overall number that has been dropping is still within those parameters that you were talking about, Anthony. Thanks for the great lesson for our audience there. So we're looking here at the way that these properties are converted. I love what you've done with the bathroom here, Julianne.
Yeah, it's making it contemporary, modernizing the bathroom. This one is in the UK, as the slide shows, but it's bringing it to current standards. So this is an example of a bathroom that had a fairly significant facelift, but again, no walls are moved or ripped out or any of that. But St. John's is performing really well. It's been well received, and it was a fairly old hotel. In the UK, they don't think 100-year-old hotel is old. It's like a 300 or 400-year old hotel. So it's neat to look at. Gold Coast, Australia. I love this slide because this is really paint and lighting, right? That's what it is.
Right.
And it just brings it to more of a modern feel and just a better presence when you walk in.
And I would like to say, for those that are listening to the audio version of our show today, all of these photographs will be available on today's show at novacancynews.com. And we were talking about the front desk area entryway. So now on to voco in Dubai, taking a look at a guest room. Julianne?
Yes, and this is one of our larger hotels. I'm not going to quote it correctly, but somewhere around 400 or 500 rooms. Mm-hmm. So again, that's what makes sense for the market. That wouldn't necessarily make sense for St. Augustine, right? And the conversion again is paint. It's a little bit of furniture. It's lighting, and it has our voco yellow, which is a thread throughout all of our hotels. So another little bit of a lighter touch on this conversion as well. And if you have a lobby photo of this slide, which I believe you do, you could also see that it's basically furniture, a little bit of furniture, and paint colors.
Right. Now we're looking at the front of the building. Anthony?
One of the things I learned doing Hotel Impossible for 9 years is paint, furniture, lighting. You don't need to knock down walls unless you're completely changing. Maybe you're building a suite or something. But every slide that I saw, I was like, wow, the color and the lighting and the moving of the furniture changes the entire room. And you can do that for, a lot less than ripping out a room for 40, 50 grand a room. So, and that's all. And people don't know. It's like that desk that I looked at. We did a desk in Vegas. My designer, Carrie, I believe it was, or Casey. She basically just changed the lighting and the color and the desk. And I couldn't believe it was the same desk. And she said, no, it's the same desk. But no, it's not. How much did you spend? You gutted it. She goes, no, I just changed the color and I just changed the lighting. It was terrific. So
that's the power of having a designer. I mean, having a designer who can really maximize your space and maximize your budget. And that's what's happened with these hotels. I certainly couldn't do that, but there's very skilled people who can, and we encourage our hotels to hire them.
Yeah. Our designer yesterday was on. Talk about that show yesterday. She was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. She was fantastic. Really, I highly recommend everyone checking out Susie Hall, yesterday's show from Cornerstone Collective. You could find them online easy enough at Cornerstone Design, I think it is, .com. I can't remember because it was all the way back yesterday. But she's a really terrific, vibrant personality who's very great at taking existing properties and finding new ways today to create more monetization opportunities, something that we're all looking for. But Julianne, speaking about opportunities out there, when you look at voco, it strikes me as a brand that can focus on conversion opportunities. You just might be in a really good position as owners and brands seem to be coming to blows these days, as we like to talk about it here, with a lot of the problems that are out there. We believe fundamentally the next few years is going to see a major reshuffling of things, creating opportunity. How do you see the ability for a conversion brand going forward? And let me just say, 2 years ago, someone would have asked this question. They would have said, no, it's all new build. It's all new build. But how is it today in the waning days of 2020?
Yeah, so I'll focus on voco, and then I'll talk about some of our other brands that are great and opportunities and have been for a long time. So with voco, we were really lucky to get those first 3 deals because there's one in a dense urban market in New York, right? There's one in the college market in Columbia, Missouri, and then there's the leisure market, right? So it flexes. It doesn't necessarily have to be just targeted to the corporate traveler, which some brands are. This flexes between leisure, high density urban, and college. So we love that. So we feel like the bandwidth is pretty large, and our ability to penetrate markets will be great. And there's thousands of independent hotels that are now thinking, gosh, I don't have that clean promise. The IHG has the IHG way of clean. That's where we partnered with Cleveland Clinic and Ecolab to make sure we were doing the right things during the pandemic. Independent hotels don't have that, right? They don't have the economies of scale and so forth. So we've gotten some inbound calls more significantly than prior to the pandemic because they're wanting to be part of a system that can deliver. So that's fantastic for voco. But for Hotel Indigo, a large portion of our pipeline has been adaptive reuse or conversions, and that continues on. Kimpton's a convertible brand. My colleague and friend Allison Reed oversees Kimpton, and she's busy with conversion opportunities. Intercontinental converts, Crown Plaza converts. Holiday Inn could be a conversion opportunity as well. So we really do have a nice collection of hotels that convert from existing brands, or like I mentioned with Hotel Indigo and Kimpton, adaptive reuse.
And what's the number one reason people are converting?
If they're converting from an independent hotel, it's because they want to be part of a system that can deliver. And it's not just delivering the reservation system, because that's a little bit different today, right? Without the corporate traveler and the group traveler, we're having to be a little bit more creative in getting sort of heads in beds, right? But it's still delivering. So there's that. Then there's the economies of scale, negotiating with the OTAs, negotiating with Sedesco or whoever we're negotiating with. And then it's also the price for FF&E and all of that. So, and also job opportunity, right? When people are looking for jobs in the hotels, they want to know that they're going to be part of something that's bigger than the hotel themselves, right? To have some upward mobility in their careers.
You guys, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, please. I was going to say that's number one reason. Yeah. You
guys took a hard line back when I was at Nickelodeon by Holiday Inn. You guys took a real hard line with third parties back then, where you basically shut them down. You didn't use third parties. I think it was Expedia in hotels, to be specific. And short term, it was tough on you guys with the owners. The owners were not happy. But long term, you guys changed. You changed the market. You made them come down to a reasonable, even though I don't think 15% is reasonable, or 12%, whatever it was, number where it was like 22%, 23%, 24%, and you guys held out, and that's the power of a brand. It's like, because yes, it was difficult. Maybe the first year it happened. I think it was 8 or 9 months, but it really changed. It changed it for everyone.
Yeah. The OTAs, it's a little controversial, right? Because you talk to the average hotel owner and they don't love the commission that needs to be paid on it, right? They feel like they're an intermediary. But the reality is many of these OTAs have their own consumer base. As much as we don't like to think about that, because IHG wants to think, and Marriott and all the rest, they want to think, okay, they're my customers. But, I have a brother-in-law who loves Expedia, and that's just how he's going to travel. Now, mind you, he travels one time a year, so he's not a road warrior. But that's, I've tried to talk him out of it, and he's a loyal consumer, and that's okay. So we do have to view them as a consumer base as well.
I don't think it's okay, and I think it'd make for a very uncomfortable Thanksgiving around my house, for example.
I'll tell you why. What I tell owners when I take over their hotels is that they are. If you get rid of them, get rid of the OTAs, and just work with the brand and work with your hotel. Okay, the brand only has so much bandwidth, right? They don't have trillions of dollars or billions of dollars to do all this advertising. So they're your advertising arm as well. So now replace them. So replace that 13% or 15%, and you're going to replace it with FTEs. And that's going to cost you more money over the long haul, not only to manage, but to plan and to market. So they've done a great service on one hand to our business, because there's a lot of B and C markets that these hotels wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the OTAs, the independent hotels that don't have brands, they wouldn't be around. So I don't like them, having to use them, and my number one priority is to try to direct reservations. However, they serve a purpose, and you have to know how to use them and work with them, because they have a business like anyone else. You just got to work with them.
I think that's right. Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you a question that you may or may not be able to answer. IHG introduced Hualux, the first non-Asian company to create a brand specifically for the Chinese market. Being that it was specifically designed for the Chinese market, Steve Erasmo, regular watcher of our show, wants to know, any plans to extend this brand to other regions? And again, I know that this is outside what you normally do.
Yeah, so today there's no plans I'm aware of to bring it into the Americas. So beyond that, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The pipeline's doing great. I think there's 11 open and maybe 23 in the pipeline in Greater China. So it's doing well. And you never know.
Right, of course.
Launched with the idea that it would be a global brand, but it started first in one particular region.
Yep.
So we'll see.
What type of brand is it comparable to in America?
I believe it's a mid to upscale offering. I don't know, to be
And
honest.
that's fine because it's so niche and it's so not part of our universe. And again, to make it clear, she has nothing to do with that brand whatsoever.
No, that is a really good question, though, Anthony.
It is.
I'm in my second year of IHG. I'll be sure to know that. But it sits between sort of the mid to upscale segment, from what I understand.
Another lesson. I always like to bring it back to lessons for people coming out of college and young managers. You just said, good question. And I'm going in my second year. I'll be sure to know that, and I'll get that question answered. You just owned up to it and said, I really don't know. Maybe I should know. I don't know if I should know, but I probably should know. So let me go find it. But that's why you're successful, because that little thing right there is the difference between somebody getting promoted and somebody being counted on, and then someone trying to just say, I don't know, and then just like almost be upset that you don't know. And I feel that, right? So that little thing that just happened is a great management lesson for those young managers.
Well, there's a lot I don't know, and I'll always admit it. So
Glenn, and you just ask Glenn, because Glenn knows everything.
Yeah, and if I don't know it, I just pretend I do and say it with authority so nobody questions it.
That's right.
Julianne, before we wrap up with you today, any final thoughts? And I guess the last question is, we haven't really talked about Crowne Plaza. Now, before you got there, Crowne Plaza has always had growing pains, trying to figure out exactly what it wants to be. Where are you at right now with that brand? It went from being the place that people are going to meet and all of that kind of stuff, but now we're in an environment where people may not necessarily do that as frequently. How are you seeing that brand today? What are you thinking about when it comes to Crowne Plaza today?
So, we're headquartered in the UK. That's where our global headquarters are. And outside of the US, Crowne Plaza has tremendous brand equity. Mm-hmm. The brand's doing well. The pipeline's doing well. Here in the US, we've been focusing on making sure that the brand continues to transition. There was a large initiative about 2 or 3 years ago to transform the brand and support the owners in renovating their hotels or maybe selling their hotels to a friendly buyer who'd like to renovate. And we're continuing on with that effort because it's a great brand, and the newer ones and the ones that have converted recently or renovated recently are outstanding.
And I would say the one in downtown Atlanta, I believe it's owned by Spire Hospitality. They're managing that property, right? They built a Forest and crew over there. Great redesign of that property. I felt really at home in that property, and I hope that it's symbolic of
what's going on with the one in Times Square.
So you've probably seen that in the news a little bit. There's a little bit of activity there. We're working through that.
I really haven't. I asked that blindly. I don't know what's going on with that.
I think it closed right?
It's one of the hotels that's closed. Yeah, there's a number of hotels that are still closed in Manhattan, but one you should check out is HY36.
Yep.
It's fantastic. It's a Crowne Plaza as well.
I've been there.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
So let's talk about HY36. Oh, David, yes, sir.
I'm sorry to jump in. I just want to say, along with the Crowne Plaza brand, the Crowne Plaza in Princeton is one of my favorite hotels. Period. It is just an absolutely beautiful hotel.
Excellent. HY36 is really terrific. I think really reinventing what that type of property could be. I love there's a little outdoor space out in the back. I love the bar area because it's like multi-levels, so there's plenty of airy space in there. I love it. And the elevators were pretty fast and efficient, which is pretty unusual for a New York City hotel. So everybody go check out HY36. I've been there for a couple of events, and it's been absolutely great. Okay, so Julianne, any final thoughts before we let you go today?
I really appreciate you having me on. I'm super excited about voco. We still have some great opportunities with Even Hotels. As I mentioned, the wellness offering is apropos for today. But we're well-heeled to continue on the development cycle and would love to welcome new owners and continue to support the ones that we have. But again, I really enjoy your show. It's always a great time, and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you. And thanks for making it the best one to date. Yeah, Anthony? Sorry.
You watch our show? That's interesting. And I just find it, and I always ask this question when people say that, is what do you find interesting about our show and why? Because you're a busy exec. You got a lot going on. We're in a pandemic. I mean, this is a lot to take in, in an hour every single day. I'm sure you don't listen to it every day, but like what draws you to the show? And I really want to know that. It's not a self-serving. I want to know because we find that the reason the show is successful is because our guests are amazing. We get the best guests. Like you coming on our show adds brand equity to our show because you're a big shot in the industry. You won't say it, but you are. And the more important people in the industry come on really helps our brand equity. So what are you interested in? What do you find interesting about the show?
I think you guys are really good at asking a variety of questions. You don't kind of have the same list that you go through every time, and you allow the conversation to flow. And I think that's a unique talent. And I think that the two of you together is fantastic. I'm a huge podcast listener anyway. No Vacancy is actually the only hotel podcast I listen to. The others are more about nutrition and other things like that for my own self-improvement. But No Vacancy is the only hotel one that I listen to. But again, you guys keep it interesting, and you've got a great variety of guests and speakers. So I appreciate that.
Do you listen or do you watch?
I listen. I actually didn't know that you were doing live feed until recently. So I'll have to get on.
So Julianne, it's so awesome that you're here today. Please tell the PR team and Ellie that we'd like to have him on the show next. We haven't seen him since this crisis started, and I think it'd be great for our audience to hear from him directly as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll bring that back. Ellie would be a great guest.
The first time I got to speak to him was just such a delight. He's just such a terrific leader. Anthony?
And I have a question for you. So off the show, so in private chat, I put my info. If you would send me yours so I can call you maybe next week, and I have a question for you.
Excellent.
All right, Julianne, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Anthony, she's so fantastic. I'm so glad that we had her on. The first time I had a chance to talk to her since coming to IHG.
I'll tell you what I like about it. I like people that figure it out. I like people that elevate themselves, that she's been in a lot of bad situations from the economy when she's been in the hotel business. She figured it out. When she got out of college, she didn't know what she wanted to do. She figured it out. She's a figure-outer. I love it. And that little thing that she did about asking, like we said, what do you think of? And you were very sensitive because like, I'm not so sure if she'll know about that.
Yeah, right.
She answered it, and then she said, well, you know what? Maybe I should know a little bit more. I'm going to learn about that. That little thing, and I know I said it, but I'm going to say it again. That little thing is like, I don't know. I'll find out. That thing changes your life. It changes your career. Because, I remember talking about Miller Global. I remember Jimmy Miller or Mickey Miller saying to me, he offered me a job and I couldn't take it because I couldn't move to Colorado. And I said, of all the people you have, why would you offer me this big job? And he said, because if I send you, and he literally said this, he goes, if I send you to China and we're developing a deal and you're there 6 months working on our deal and you waste or you spend $100,000 to $300,000 of our money, and at the last second, I'm about to get on the plane to sign the deal that you told me is a great deal, you would call me up if you saw a problem and say, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I'm sorry, but this deal should not go forward. You would tell us it's better to take it now and take the loss than to get into something because you're afraid to get fired or your ego. He said, that is invaluable to a company like mine. I need to trust that you're going to make tough decisions and you're going to put yourself in the line of fire when you need to. And that was the greatest lesson. That's who I am, but I think that was a great lesson that he actually made sure I knew that. And that's why it's so important to have somebody like Julianne and to really talk about those lessons, because the young managers got to understand you got to be counted on, and that's how you're counted on.
All right, speaking about young people in the marketplace, Anthony, we got a great question for you right up your alley. This one is coming from Brandon Durham. How do you work for a manager that's always rude, but you really love your job?
All right, there's two ways to answer this. I'm going to answer it the way that, just one second, let me try another. The way I would answer it if I wasn't on our show. You love your job. That means you're passionate about the industry, and that means you like this business. That's great. You need to confront that person. Now, the way I confront
that sounds scary.
And the way I confront somebody and the way you confront somebody could be different. The way I would confront somebody is I would think about it a lot, and I would get very, very nervous, and I would worry about it a lot. But at some point, I'd be like, I'm going to take the right moment, whether it be lunchtime, whether it be at 5 o'clock, whatever it is, and I'm going to go in the office, and I'm going to ask them for their time. I'm going to schedule an appointment, and I'm going to go in there and then say, these things are bothering me. I like working here. I respect you, and I respect the business, but these things are bothering me. Please help me, get over this, whatever it is. Now, there's one or two things are going to happen. One, he's going to be pissed off or she's going to be pissed off, and you're going to be on their blacklist.
Right.
Okay. And that's a great place to be because that means you need to go.
Right.
Okay. And you don't want to work for a person like that. Or two, they're going to go like, oh my God, thank you so much. You know how many times people come in my office, shut my door and go, we got to talk. And I'd be like, what? And they're like, I don't like the way you said that. I don't like you're telling me to do this, but you're not following through. You know how many times people have held me accountable and those people probably got promoted the next day?
Right.
I love being held accountable. We're busy. We have a lot going on. And sometimes, listen, I'm not for everyone. I have a pretty aggressive personality. When people hold me accountable for it, it's great. So one of those two things have to happen. You got to move and go to a different hotel, or you got to confront them. And again, confronting doesn't mean in a negative way or a confrontational.
Just means dealing with the situation.
Dealing with it, and you'll get your answer.
Right.
Like you're going to double down and say, I got to get the hell out of here. Or you're going to say, oh, that was easy.
Yeah. All right. Makes a whole lot of sense. Would your advice change, being that half of all hotel workers are out of job right now? No,
because what do we live for? We live to be happy.
Right.
Now, I'm not in people's pocketbooks, right? So the answer would change if that, like, you literally didn't have, a month or 3 months or 4 months. You had no money. And so then what I would do is I would work really, really hard on my off time to find another job, get that job secure, sign that contract, and then do it.
Right.
If you're nervous about that. So the one thing you can't do is you can't live. I used to go to a hotel. I loved the Plaza Hotel. It was my favorite hotel to rent. I used to throw up almost every week. I used to go in, usually it was a Sunday, and I used to throw up. I used to get sick to my stomach, not because I didn't like everyone, just because it stressed me out. And eventually, even though it was a great thing to have on my resume, I had to go because they called it the Plaza for a reason. It's crazy.
Right. Wow. Makes a lot of sense. All right, Anthony, it's time for us to wrap up today. Everybody out there, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Text the word hotel to 66866. If you're not subscribed to our audio only downloads, check that out at the No Vacancy feed or the Checking In with Anthony and Glenn feed on iTunes, Google Play, and wherever you get your finer podcasts and your crappy podcasts too. We're happy to be around with either group, whatever you consider us. Just listen to our show every single day, live on air, 12 o'clock every single day. Anthony, I know you don't have anything special going on with Hospitality Success today, but what can people expect?
Well, first of all, every time you go through that spiel at the end, I want to put like Cars for Kids music behind it.
We should.
Yeah, like, a little theme. That's why I was going like this. I was thinking a little
please
theme.
Subscribe to our podcast.
Don't do that again, please. Listen, most people listen to this on my podcast, so please, on their headphones. Hospitality Success, kind of what Julian was talking about today. There's a lot of movement. A lot of people going away from brands to independent. A lot of people going independent to brands. There's a lot of things to consult on, to know about. That's what we do. HospitalitySuccess.com, AnthonyMelchiori.com. You can find me anywhere you want to be on the internet. So I have a great partner, and we scale up. So we take over little hotels. We can take over a 5,000 room hotel.
That is absolutely awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow we've got another great best of show. And next week, we're going to be over at the Rockaway Hotel live and in person. Ooh, then we got, looks like we got Choice Hotels on Tuesday. The CEO Crestline, a major management company, on Thursday. And on Wednesday, we're focusing on real estate with Dr. Donald Wise. It's going to be a big week, packed to the gills with great information that all of you can find success with.
And if you know somebody that wants to be on the show that is relevant to what we're talking about, please give us their name. But we're almost booked out for the whole year now, right?
It's getting crazy. It's getting absolutely crazy.
Yeah, we're booked out to almost next year, and which again is we don't say this enough. It's like I'm humbled and honored and blessed and live in gratitude that people like Julian and other people come on our show that have these huge jobs, that have this huge responsibility, and give us the insight and the perspective. I learn more when I'm getting interviewed. My PR company calls me, Brooks Group. If you need a publicist or a PR company, Brooks Group, best in the country, period, end of story. They work with me, and they work with Jacques Torres, and they work with Guy Fieri, and they work with Andrew Zimmern. They work with all the best. And I will tell that, I don't know if I'm the best, but and anytime they get me an interview, I feel so like powerful because there's nothing they can't ask me I don't know because of this show, not because I'm smart. And so I think we're blessed, and I just want to thank all the people that come on the show and all the people that listen on the show, especially, our avid listeners like, John and Colleen and
Steve and Mike and
and just a bunch of people. So
White Plains owns Maritza. Can't forget Maritza.
of course, with so many.
Today, so I was thinking about it.
That's why you shouldn't start naming, because we're inevitably going to forget so many people. You know why? Because there's so many of you, and you've been such a great community to us. Thank you so much for helping us get through these crazy times. And I do fundamentally believe that that long night's over and the sun is coming up, and a lot of it has to do with the energy that you all there have given us.
Yeah, and thank you to Mike Weinberg as well. Even though Mike, love you, but it's 2 S's, bro. He gets very, very bent out of shape when you spell his name wrong.
Yeah, I cannot believe he spelled my name wrong. Did he? Did he? Oh my God! Oh my God!
All right,
guys,
take us away.
Yeah, all right, guys. Everybody spells my name wrong all the time. 2 N's, 2 S's, 1 N. Way too complicated for people to understand, but that's okay because you've got one life. So blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
all right. Love